Okay. I really don't want to keep going on and on about Israel and Palestine. I really don't. Because we all know that people can say all this shit about the IDF and say how awful the IDF is and whatnot. I will say the same thing that, it's much less clear than that. Or, okay, so this is a tweet from IDF. We'll say it again. When Hamas places military assets inside such a building, it becomes a lawful military target. This is clear international law. It's much less clear than that. But it doesn't matter because Israel, like the U.S., enjoys total impunity when it comes to international law. But the thing is, though, in the same breath, if someone brought up the Holocaust, they'll say, well, yeah, it did happen, and that was awful. And they will leave out Irgun. They will leave out Lehi. They will leave out all these other groups. And, of course, when you bring up the larger issues, though, do you think Assad is a fascist? They'll say, well, yeah, he's a fascist. Is it bad that Israel is shooting missiles at Syria? Oh, yeah, it's bad, but This is why these types of people should never be trusted. Okay? And I tell you this right now. This is from this Derek Davison guy, who apparently was talking with Dan Three Arrows, the Suck Dam on YouTube, who now does his podcast, his Iron Dice Bot podcast type shit. The thing is, I think he just, the thing is that Dan Three Arrows guy realized that he wasn't making enough money simply making YouTube videos. And because now that, Drumpf isn't there, he can't really make my far right, I'm against the far right sort of stuff. So he's shifting it now to, I'm going to talk about larger scale politics. But the thing is, though, beyond that, beyond my rambling, is this. These folks they do not have consistency. They do not have any sort of consistency in the sense that they do not realize that Israel, Palestine, Syria, Iran are all connected. Jordan, Lebanon, they're all connected in some way. But instead, most of the folks that exist, they play this sort of centrist type bullshit. It's awful what's happening to the Palestinians. Yes, I agree with you. Then support Hamas. Then support Hezbollah. Then support Assad. Even if it's in name only. Oh, no, Assad's bad. Hamas is bad. Hezbollah bad because they have fascist intentions. Then shut the fuck up. I understand that it's like people like this Derek Davison guy. Was a writer for FX Newsletter. Oh, he's got a Substack. Holy shit. He's got a fucking Substack. Oh my goodness. They all do, right? Don't they? They all have a fucking Substack. Doesn't have a blue check mark, surprisingly enough. Venezuela's Maduro should be tried for ecocide. Ryan C. Berg. Ooh, be careful. See, the thing is, like I say, I'm sorry for that. I'm just looking at his cringe tweets and all that. And I'm not on Twitter officially. It's just something you can look at someone's Twitter and not be a part of Twitter. You can see their at. But anyway, when I see this sort of bullshit of we don't like what Israel is doing to Palestine or the Palestinians, but then will oppose Assad and will then support Rojava, you're full of shit. Can I just tell you that? You're full of shit. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You are full of shit. How could you support Rojava, who gets support from Israel, but will be against Israel and Palestine? You'll say that, Syria is so bad. Ooh, Assad is a fascist. He bombed his own people. But Israel is okay, apparently, when they're shooting missiles and destroying, oil refineries and blowing up, areas where, as people like Bull the Fifth Column will say, non-state agents of Iran that are in Syria. That's okay. But attacking the Palestinians, that's not good. This is why you're never going to be taken seriously. That's the simple reason why. You cannot be against Israel and support Palestine, but then also be against Syria, fighting against the United States and Israeli-created groups like ISIS. You can't. Well, you can, but you're going to look like a dipshit doing it. I'll put it that way. You can, but you'll look like a fucking idiot doing it. Because it shows how inconsistent you are. The world, as much as people will say it's gray, it's very black and white. You either support the people that are fighting against Israel or you're not. It's that simple. You're either against everybody that hates Israel and is putting up as much resistance as they possibly can, whether it's Iran, whether it's Syria, whether it is Hamas. You support them, regardless. But idiots like you, centrists like you, pussies like you, cowards will say, Hamas is bad, Israel's bad, and of course, if you talk to these folks about the history of Israel, they're like, well, the Holocaust happened. We're going to ignore everything else that occurred in the 1948 Independence War because we know all that shit is real bad. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to, like I say, bring up the USS Liberty. No, that's, but we're going to talk about instead what's happening right now. You're full of shit. And Teal Deer, that's what it is. Don't trust these types of people. It's that simple. And do not believe their bullshit. They do not care about the larger structures at hand. They do not care. They'll talk about Saudi Arabia being bad, but will then criticize and demonize Syria. Even though, say what you will about Bashar al-Assad. If you disagree with him, fine. But the thing is, though, he is still the leader of Syria. This is why I have no respect for politics in general. And I know that there are plenty of people who feel the way I do. And it's not exactly different. But honestly, it's disappointing. It's the reason why people get disengaged from politics, and they just say, this is all bullshit. They'll have their Palestinian flags and whatnot, and then, of course, when you talk to them and say, well, what do you think about, these various things, and go somewhat, JQ-esque on them, they're like, no, that have this, what it is. Israel, stop being so naughty. They're just, I'm just going to say it, they're like a Karen. They're like Karens who just go up and say, Israel, stop being so naughty. You stop doing that. I don't care about your history and everything else. Like, you be nice to your brother. You be nice to Ahmed. And no, I'm not trying to be racist when I say that. I'm just using that as an example. But that's what they are. They think they can just chastise Israel and will ignore legitimate groups that are fighting against Israel and its Zionist goals. Yeah, I've repeated myself several times, but they are full of shit. And you should never respect people like that. Anyway, I hope you'll enjoy that. See you later, and goodbye.